Hello and welcome to the Godscast. I'm Steve
And I'm
Attewell,
Chris Holcomb.
and we are discussing issue 7 of Wicked and the Divine.
Woden's an asshole.
So, this issue, yes, Woden is a massive, massive asshole, and you know, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that this is just the tip of the asshole iceberg, um, that we get. So, we start with the Laura and Anana somehow sitting on top of the roof of this giant convention center, which is a real convention center in London,
Ah,
where a bunch of comic cons happen. So this is where Kieron Gillen and Jamie McKelvie are definitely drawing on their life experiences to sort of build out this world. And we start with sort of a discussion between Laura and Anana about kind of human nature.
um, I
Any
just
thoughts
don't
on
really
this?
have enough information to have thoughts. It's human nature. It's with the last episode where we talked about how is this world different. I feel like I don't know enough about how society works to really judge who's right about this answer. I feel like I'll or about this discussion. I feel like we'll get an answer in the thing, but am I making any sense?
I guess I'm what I'm trying to sort of get at is that you know Inanna very much strongly believes that
Mm-hmm.
caring is better than not caring, and that most people want to have a good time, and that you have to be sort of abnormal um, if if you're going to be violent, whereas um, Laura is a lot more cynical and thinks that any one of these fans would be violent, in the right
Yeah.
circumstances. So, we then get this London Pantheon map, which kind of gives a sense of um, what the event is kind of like. And this is where you get a lot of in jokes and a lot of puns. I don't know. Did you notice the name of all the
I did not. Unfortunately, I'm
restaurants?
looking at them for the first time here because
Uh-huh.
the I was reading it and the text was just too small, so I'm blowing it up now. And
Gotcha.
yeah, these are cute, but I figure it would get old. Inanna and Out Burgers.
Yeah. Yeah. Amor Taragu Italian Bappo meat. Uh, so ridiculous.
I
Amor
remember
Taragu is
something
also a
similar in
British
the
word too.
2008
It
Democratic
also
National
means
Convention. Um, the Yes We Cantaloupe and the Audacity of Toast.
okay.
I
So
mean,
this is just sort of more the same. And you also get from Laura's handwriting sort of how she's experiencing this event, where she's being kind of hassled about. Well, first of all, she gets to
mm-hmm.
skip the queue, which is kind of nice. You get a sense that she's a VIP. She's getting hassled by a lot of um, autograph seekers. You get the image of the big sort of setup, um, where all the gods have their own little like
Okay, so
temples or worship areas or whatever you want to call them. There's a cosplay zone. Oh, sorry, they
yeah,
have a name for it. It's the
I
God
have a question
image
here. Like
image
autographs,
zone.
are they still a thing? I kind of thought selfies had replaced them.
Yes.
I get it for authors. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the two tend to go. Well, I was gonna say at conventions or whatever, the two seem to go kind of hand in hand, where
Okay.
you get a selfie, but you also buy a signed photo. Because that's usually celebrities when they go to comic conventions or sci-fi conventions or whatever. That's how they're making their money. Is they're selling.
Mm-hmm. But Laura isn't one of them, so what is she signing? Is my question.
Well, Laura is kind of a minor celebrity, right? That she was there when Lucifer was killed, and she was on the news. So
Well,
like
yeah, I
those
get
people.
that, but what does she sign? Does she have merch? Does she have little?
No, I think she's
Oh,
just being asked for like autographs out of like an autograph book, like
okay.
just for some crazy completionist kind of.
I guess so. It's more the Disney model where you buy the book. They sell you the book for $200, and then you get all, Goofy and Winnie the Pooh and Baloo to all sign your book. I
Yeah.
guess.
I did think it was interesting that she mentions that like right in that little center black square where they have the artifacts of the gods, that the Tara poster that we saw Lucy vandalize is being
Yeah.
worshipped like an icon, which is kind of freaky. And then sort of speaking to your question about like how does this all work, right? We get this on the next page, like that they have shows, right, where there are like different levels of sort of exclusivity that you can get, like if you buy various
Mm-hmm.
VIP packages.
And this is Minerva on stage, right?
So like there's yeah, with the sort of the wing jacket. And like there's evening shows that are for everyone, but like daytime shows, you have to be the like you have to buy a special pass. And then we see like Minerva doing personal blessings, where it seems like people are having like a mini like personal freak out
Mm-hmm.
because you can see that woman sort of being dragged away. And also, like you were asking earlier about like the sort of celebrities and their parental relationships, like Minerva's parents seem to be very much in that like exploit our kid to the nth
Well,
degree
I mean,
side of things.
that's a fair way to see it, but at the same time, your kid is a god, and what they want and what they push for is attention. And Minerva doesn't seem to have a problem with it. I know she's a kid, but she's also a god. She's got agency in this. I don't think it's fair to say her parents are just exploiting her.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. £100 per personal blessing seems like they're certainly not
Yeah, but
shying away from
yeah,
the
I don't know.
materialistic
These
side.
gods are the gods are exploitative. They drain energy and they need attention and they do what they want to get it. So don't really feel like there's an exploitation thing happening here.
Gotcha. So, then Cassandra comes back into the story.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen her.
Yes, and she is very much a no bullshitter. Um, but what do you think about their sort of their conversation, especially when she brings up the Prometheus Gambit?
So the Prometheus Gambit made me stop and think for a while. Because we've already established that it seems to be people in the god's orbit that seem to get pulled into this. But we don't have any information on why they're chosen. So where does the Prometheus Gambit come from? It seems dumb to me. From what I know about the world, there's no evidence. There's nobody who's taken a god's power after they've been killed, and there's too long between cycles to get your.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's sort of I had it down in my notes as it's like Pizzagate. It's like one of
Mm-hmm.
these crazy conspiracy theories online, but that somebody, enough kind of fringe people believe in that, like, hey, Pizzagate was absolutely insane, but it got a guy to like go in and try to shoot up a pizza parlor. So if you think that you could be the next god, right, and have supernatural powers, maybe you would grab an M16 and like try to shoot Lucifer in the face.
Okay, it's if a crazy conspiracy theory like that, I feel like it would have a much less erudite name than
Well, I
Prometheus
mean,
Gambit, but
Prometheus, stealing power from the gods. It seems, if anything, it seems like one of those kind of on the nose illusion. things.
Okay, fair. So Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. He didn't steal something he didn't already have. That's what I was thinking about here, is why Prometheus. And it makes me wonder if there's some foreshadowing about the
Ah,
Prometheus story or the Prometheus truth that
gotcha. Good
will
question.
come back.
So, we then get a sort of a confrontation between Cassandra and Beth, her former intern.
I do
She
not
was
remember
one of
her.
the
Should I have?
three of sorry, she was one of the two assistants that Cassandra had, and she told Ball you know, where they were, because when Ball showed up for the first time and took them to Valhalla, right? He said, Laura asked, "How did you find him?" And he said, "Oh, I just a few Snapchat DM, you know, and she told me where to find you." So clearly she's been fired, but and this is the part that was a little, like made me think a little bit less of Cassandra, that she wasn't paying her interns, which is just like, I'm against that on general principles. And I remember we were
Yeah, Cassandra is not looking good in this. Also, I got super
okay.
confused. This third panel on page, I can't tell what page it is because I'm on a PDF version. But when
Oh
it
yeah,
says, "This is my
yeah.
fault, I told
I
Cass,"
guess Laura. So
like,
Ball told
what is she
Laura
talking
how he
about?
found them, and I guess Laura must have told Cassandra that Beth was the one who told. This is sounding very high school all of a sudden.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's just it made me think that she said something in the moment, but that's not what happened, and I thought maybe she was trying to take the blame for
Yeah.
this
Um.
instead. So, yeah, just got really confusing.
So we then get the panel where Laura is supposed to talk, except that she doesn't actually get to talk because a new character, Brunhilde, wants to talk instead about Woden. And what did you think of this?
Yes. So, Brunhilde is very much describing I didn't believe her for one because it's a propaganda tactic to impugn this sexual abilities of someone you're lying about. It's actually,
Huh.
I've read, it's a common CIA tactic actually, that apparently every time we go after someone the CIA deems a terrorist leader, there's a 90% chance they're going to say, yeah, they had a lot of Western porn. So just it's a very base level
Ah,
slandering.
okay.
So I don't believe she's telling the truth. And I don't think regardless of Woden's sexual abilities or not, Woden doesn't like that information out there. And that's what's important to him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, regardless of whether or not you believe this stuff about, his sexual abilities and what his face looks like, I mean, certainly the way that he handles her in the immediate aftermath, like, I don't think abusive is particularly beyond the pale.
Yeah, the just because the description fits doesn't mean
Sure.
she's telling the truth about what went down, though.
Um, so yeah, his revenge is kind of interesting because like he basically makes her like destroy her reputation in front of all the cameras, and then destroys the thing that he offered her. So he sort of reneges on the deal. What did you? Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you
So
think of sort of like, given that he's sort of very much dressed up as like a Daft Punk Tron suit guy, like how do you read him in the moment, given that you can't really see his face?
um, he seems like an abusive asshole, and yeah, this scene where she immediately says it was all a lie, it's what I still don't know what being
Right.
a Valkyrie does. Nobody has told me like what benefits do you get other than
So,
sleeping with Woden.
we have heard some things. So, for example, we know they get these suits. Um, we also know that the Valkyries perform on stage because Laura's.
So
Yeah,
they're part of the attraction. They're
yeah,
part
they're
of
sort
the
of. I guess the way that
show.
you could think about it is like they're the girl group and he's the producer.
Gotcha. Okay, this makes a lot more sense. So she's basically going to be what's the first Ringo's
Yeah,
name?
she
Was it
got
Pete
kicked out of the
Best?
band. Um,
All right, things make a lot more sense now.
so okay,
I still don't believe her, but it's God. Woden,
yeah, and
what a
then
prick.
Laura goes backstage to try to follow up with him. Um, Ball, meanwhile, completely strikes out.
Yeah,
Dressed, as I should note, in another very electric, uh, bold colored McQueen suit. And yeah, so then when they actually talk with one another, what did you think about his complicated aesthetic?
um, it's his complicated aesthetic. So he's
Yeah.
hiding. You're
So
talking
no,
about
where
Woden,
it's
right?
saying, she
Okay.
said, she says, Woden, I was wondering, no, you don't have what it takes to be a Valkyrie because I'm not over 5'8" and Asian. He said, and exactly, don't say it's racist. I'm working on an aesthetic. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand. And mentally, she thinks, oh, I understand. It's a racist aesthetic of girls that you want to fuck.
I agree with Laura here, and I thought you were talking about
Yeah, yeah,
his own suit and aesthetic, but no, this is a fetishization of Asian women, and Woden is. I was hoping that such an asshole would at least be a little more
yeah,
honest about what he's doing, but we see there's a lot of shades of this in conversations about this in the queer community about being open to dating people of races that are not your own, and the uh,
yeah,
no fats, no femmes, no Asians tag on Grinder, and the it's just a preference. It's like Woden is a distillation of everything that just the benevolent racism of fetishization, which is it's not even
yeah.
benevolent.
And
It's yeah, I hate
especially,
him.
I mean, the red
I
flag
hate
that
him.
really went up for me is he said, um, I tried to be a nice guy, didn't get me anywhere, and not making that mistake ever again. I'm like, oh shit, he's a, former, he's a, former capital N, capital G, nice guy, spouting off, quasi pickup artists bullshit lines about,
God, I hope not, because
yeah,
this was published in 2014, right? I like to remember a time before that was
yeah. I
a
wonder if,
household term,
let me see.
but apparently,
So, yeah, so Gamergate would be the same year. So the whole like pickup
yeah.
artist stuff. Um, when did that start becoming like a thing recently? Um, yeah, so like the pickup artist stuff. Wow, that was older than I thought. Like that was like 2005 through like 2008. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's been around for a while, but it started getting national attention when the internet assholes started doing their thing. But that honestly is what kind of scares me about Woden, and I'm a little afraid to figure out his kind of fan base and what sort of people he's looking to pull into. We've already seen him like he wants
yeah,
fetish objects for his show. What does he want in
yeah. That's an interesting question. And
followers?
also, the other thing that we learn about him that's kind of interesting is he says, I make other people stars, I get nothing. You know what happens when I try to give myself powers? Clue, now I wear this. Since I don't get to be like any of the others, I take every side benefit I can. I'm a god, not a saint. So, like, he seems really pissed off. Like, we were talking about, like, which gods are, what kind of personalities are, become which gods. And it seems like he's in a really bad mismatch where, like, he's a very, very selfish person, but the only thing he can do is give other people powers.
Yeah, and he just jumped to the top of my list of suspects as far as framing Lucy and
Lucy's
sending
few
the
months
shooters.
for my 2 years. Like, definitely seems like someone with a malicious streak to him. So then,
Right.
Carrie shows up with a gun and tries to do the Prometheus gambit that we've been talking about. And
yeah, and I'm really sad it didn't work.
She gets pretty badly hurt, it seems like.
So is Minerva defending her own out of reflex? Does she give a shit about Woden?
Yeah,
is
and,
it because they're both gods? I have no answer.
Moment, like, someone pulls a gun on someone else, like, I don't think this is particularly kind of premeditated or anything like
that. I gotta be honest, like, if I were a security guard and I had just seen what Brunhilde went through, probably wouldn't try to move too fast to stop her.
Not if she can fling people into walls like that. And then Woden's reaction is really kind of both grim and interesting, where he says, the gambit's a lie, and I know this because if it was true, I'd be doing it myself. I'd kill to be any of them rather than be me, which is really interesting because that's like the absolute opposite of Inanna's perspective. Yeah, so then we get like a whole nother subsection, like a completely different story, where Laura gets invited to the underground.
Right, she's meeting Baphomet and the Morrigan.
And she sort of does this, like, wander underground through all of these tunnels and staircases, and finds out that what...
I really hated the layout of the text here. That was incredibly confusing.
Left, and then left to right, and then right to left. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's like, I give them credit for trying to be creative with their layout, but this was just, it was like bad editing. You're too focused on where should my eye go next to kind of retain any information.
Yeah.
So I think I had to read it twice before I processed what she was saying.
And then it turns out that what Baphomet and the Morrigan are up to is karaoke.
What is with karaoke and the supernatural? Because that's a recurring thing on Angel as well. Yes, there is a demon bar where they go to do karaoke. And a demon can read your aura while you're doing karaoke, but only while you're singing. So it makes me wonder, have I missed some kind of singing is a window to a soul type meme or concept that has existed outside of these?
I mean, the gods, we see them kind of doing music, but also kind of not. Like, performance is very much tied up with their miracles. This doesn't quite seem to be the same thing, because, like, when we see Amaterasu doing her thing, she's not actually singing. She is sort of doing something that people interpret in their own way, and then just kind of. But this is more straightforward. She's singing into a microphone. And then like Baphomet kind of does something unexpected, where like he's, trying to like reach out and comfort Laura about the death of Lucifer. Uh, with this sort of term about we're not good company, but we're good bad company. And we've been there. I can't say I care, but I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of go out and get drunk, which is a way of processing, you know, PTSD. There's I guess worse ways to go about it.
It makes me wonder about the relationship with Baphomet and the Morrigan and Lucy, because all three of them are painted as gods or entities you don't want to cross.
Yeah.
Am I right about that?
Yeah. I mean, certainly, Baphomet's been described as an angry head case, and he did set a guy on fire. The Morrigan has all those um, like internet mythology about her, like the doom button and all that stuff.
Well, that's these characters. What I'm talking about the actual gods and their mythology.
Oh, well,
Are
yeah,
these gods that are you're not supposed to worship, like Lucifer is?
Yeah, well, I mean, Lucifer is, a fallen angel. The Morrigan is like a war goddess.
Okay,
And,
that's right.
Yeah, and Baphomet is like a Satanist figure. So they're all sort of, I mean, on the like darker side of things, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I just sort of invented in my head that since Lucifer is someone you're not supposed to worship, and you're reviled for worshiping them, I was sort of assuming Baphomet and the Morrigan were the same, and that's why three of them might have a kinship and might want to drink and talk about their friend. But
Yeah.
no, I invented all that in my head. So,
And they do, once the evening ends, we get introduced to another of the underground gods.
yes.
So we were talking about like how late it was in the cycle for there to be gods who aren't there, and lo and behold, we get the 11th god,
Dionysus.
the
So
dance floor that walks like a man.
that's a very weird branding, I guess.
Yeah. And you'll notice on the little logo or wheel of logos that his sigil is a bunch of pills in the shape of a grapevine, and it's in color as opposed to all the rest, which are in black and white.
Mm-hmm. So Laura's kind of out of slots to take up if she's going to.
There's only one left.
Yeah.
So, let me see. I have a couple things that I want to talk about in the after section. So do you want to plug your stuff and then I'll do a 10 count?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Unspoiled, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You can hear me and my best friend talk about this weird show from the 90s, and I'm the only gay man in his 30s who's never seen it. So, give us a listen.
1, 2,
and talk to you guys
3,
next time.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the main thing I wanted to sort of talk about in this issue is David Blake, aka Woden, where many of the things that Brunhilde were saying about him are in fact true, and that the sort of the kicker is that he's not deformed, he hasn't gone Doctor Doom, he's just kind of a not super great looking guy in his 50s, and he's trying to shut her up for a whole bunch of reasons. I don't think it's just about the sexual stuff. I think it's also he doesn't want anybody thinking about who Woden looks like behind the mask. And this is kind of an interesting moment because, you know, he's not actually a god. So he very much could have been shot in the head when Carrie pulled the gun on him. One question that I definitely have, like two questions that really spring to mind. Number one is, like, how in the loop is Minerva when she sort of shoots Carrie with that kind of bolt of force? Like, is she doing this because she doesn't want it exposed that that Woden isn't a real god, or is she just doing this because it's like a violent action in her general area? And then also his thing about I'd kill to be anyone but me, you know, he's got this whole pretense where like he can't give himself powers and he damaged himself and that's all just sort of a cover because he doesn't actually have powers. He is compelling his son, who does have powers. And okay, I'm gonna leave it there. As I said on the last episode, if you want to find out my writing about other stuff, you can look for racefortheironthrone.wordpress.com, and I'll see you next episode.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.